guys? How y'all doing today? Happy Gobble Gobble Day. Listen, while we waiting for the food to cook, we got to talk about what's going on with Kandi and Todd. Now, I know I did a video yesterday when I was like, yo, Todd helped Kandi build a kingdom. And if he was a woman, we would say he was due money. However, people said he wasn't a woman and he wasn't loyal and he wasn't faithful. And people are wondering how long this little keep it cute game they got going on is going to last. All right, sit down. Sit down. Let me tell you the tea, okay? And then let me tell you what I know. Because Kandi issued a really, really amazing response saying she was going to enforce the prenup. But what was written in that response? Oh, Todd, I hope you got your own money for lawyers because Kandi is going to fight you tooth and nail. And it's starting with her saying that they never make no money while they had that production company. Now, I don't know to believe that. I know that Miss Kandi literally likes to protect her money, but let's see if Todd actually fell for the okie doke, because one thing I do know about productions and all that other stuff, if Kandi was the one controlling the money, she legally probably found ways to sink all the profit and couch it in debt so that on the paper, if Todd tries to get half of what they owned while they were together, because don't forget the prenup protects her assets. Anything they made while they were a married couple, he would be entitled to 50% of. But just like big movie houses, they often do what's called creative accounting, where at the end of the day, a movie might have made like $300 million, but Paramount Pictures is like, well, wouldn't you know it? The promotion cost $100 million. The free snacks in the trailer, that was like at least what, 5, 8, 10 million? That water, yeah, the Aquafina. I know it's $1.39 at your local, $2.39 at your local CVS, but we paid like $5 a bottle and we bought 1 billion bottles. They couch it behind this hidden debt and even future expenses and other like promotion, PR, clothes. They couch it so that on paper, it looks like they barely made any profit. And this seems like that's what Kandi is saying, y'all. Let's get into this. Okay, first of all, let's talk about what the streets are saying, right? So I was like, yo, what's going on? And I said, from what I've been told, my source said, from what I've been hearing, Todd couldn't stay out the streets. When I said that, I said, you know what? I kind of believe it, because remember I talked about men and female roles. It's very hard in this world for people to switch roles. And hear me out. The woman can switch roles, no problem, but Kandi's a boss. She ain't switching to nothing. You know, like she literally has an empire to run. But when it comes to men, it's hard for them to play the role that women have to play, which is the dutiful supporter through all, and you pour in everything for us, right? And the breadwinner is like, no, we doing that for us, right? But Todd had that man thing about like, which I think a lot of women should have. No. What about me? But the thing is, once Kandi is not a fool for money at all. You can say whatever you want about Kandi, baby. The bank account is always going to be banking. So what ended up happening? Well, here's what I think, okay? And I'll get into the rest of what my source is saying. I think that Kandi, built with Todd, but she never like gave him the keys to the kingdom. She never really opened up all her money. I think that did not escape Todd. I think he started to get resentful, because hear me out, and I will always maintain this. Mama Joyce, man, she put Todd through the ringer. But the thing is, like most people's mamas, was she wrong? Did she lie? Okay, but get this. When she put Todd through the ringer, Kandi dropped, I remember that episode, dropped a prenup on Todd at the last minute. That was bad enough. But then Mama Joyce was literally hazing Todd, Kayla, everybody. And Todd stuck through it. And he said, fine, this and that. But I remember when that happened, I remember thinking, see, I never believed Todd was a gold digger things until I saw the way Mama Joyce treated him and the way that prenup got dropped on him the last minute. And I said, you know what? Now that gives me gold digger vibes. Why? Because when somebody is looking at you like the financial come up, right? Put it like this. You're not going to break up with Jeff Bezos the same way you might break up with the person pumping Jeff Bezos' gas. Do you see what I'm saying? If you are focused on that money, you will leave a lot more room. And I felt like the way Todd was treated, and again, I know it was TV, but I felt like the way Todd was treated, if he was really just there for feelings, he would have been like, y'all can kiss my butt. He would have cursed them out and walked away, because it was very ignorant. The way that he was treated was very ignorant, the way his daughter was treated. However, the way he hung in there, people are like, oh my God, it was true love. And I was like, I don't know. Seems like he has an ulterior motive, because I wouldn't have put up with that much. And men put up with even less. And everybody's like, oh, he really loved Kandi. And I was like, yeah, but it was such ignorance. When Mama Joyce looked like she was trying to chase him away, and when the whole family was treating him like he was a joke, and when she was just like, you know, remember Mama Joyce was like, Riley is here alone. Those other kids got Todd as a dad. Everything needs to go to Riley. And then she, you know, it was just a lot. It was a lot. And I feel like if Todd really, it was only purely emotional, I feel like Todd would have walked away at the wedding just for the sheer ignorance of you giving me a prenup a couple days before the wedding. But then I kept my mouth shut, because I was like, you know, maybe it was show. But now I see this and I'm like, okay, maybe not. So walk with me. Let's get back on track. So what does that have to do with anything? It has to do with this. What if, you know, Todd was like, let me see if we, and here's the thing. I'm not saying he didn't care about Kandi. It's like when you date a rich man. I love the way you take care of me, but I also love you too. So I think he was like, yo, like, let's take the wheels off. And he wanted Kandi to be more and more free in the way that she invested in his production projects, in his projects. And I think Kandi, you know, she's very cautious with her money. She'll invest, but she's very, very cautious. And I think that Todd got tired of the fact that Kandi wouldn't let him drive the boat. Because Kandi's the boss, and she wouldn't let him drive the boat. And Todd got very upset. And what do men do? Traditionally, when they are upset, when they start feeling resentful, right? And when you are the breadwinner and everybody knows, and they need your permission to do anything they want, right? Like you're the mommy, what breeds resentment? What do they start doing? First, they start at your self-esteem. And then second, what do? They start cheating on you. They start cheating on you. Now, some people said, like myself, how can Kandi and Todd cheat? I don't think that they have an open relationship, but we saw the dungeon. We saw the dungeon tour, not in person. I saw the clips and I said, oh Lord, right? We saw the dungeon. Todd and Kandi were very open. They were young, wild, and free. And they're not even young anymore, but baby, they was wild and free. So how could you cheat on someone when you can just pull somebody into the bedroom, right? But then that's where the resentment comes up, because it wasn't about getting some panani. It wasn't about bringing somebody else in. It wasn't about being some like on some freak show stuff. It was about, right, breaking the person down and letting your resentment come out by finding a way to gain power and finding a way to make them feel as devalued and disrespected as you felt. Okay, so but here's the thing. So anyway, my source said Todd couldn't stay out the streets. Crazy thing is, when stuff like this happens, someone probably has receipts. But what woman is bold enough to raise their hand, especially in Atlanta? Kandi Burruss is an institution. Kandi is loved. I think Kandi has like some of one of the strongest fan bases on Real Housewives of Atlanta. So they said this isn't going to end well for Todd, but the good thing is they both know they have babies and need to keep it cute. How long will that game last? I think that game will last as long as right before Todd realizes, and I think he's already started to realize, that Kandi literally not hid all her assets. But remember, she said this has been brewing for a while, and then she decided to file for divorce. Yeah, I think she made sure all her financial I's were dotted and T's were crossed, and she went in on. Okay, so here's what this is where I think things are going to go, because I think she's ready. So listen, the girls are fighting on Twitter. Twitter said, Kandi Burruss requests prenup enforcement, joint custody, and child support in divorce filing. Kandi Burruss is officially filed, and she said, Todd, you're not getting out of paying for these children. She said, Kandi Burruss has officially filed for divorce in Fulton County, Georgia, According to court documents, she and Todd married in April 2014 and separated in July 15, 2025, living apart since that date. Wow, over 10 years? The filing confirms that Kandi and Todd have 2 minor children together. Kandi is requesting joint physical and legal custody, stating that she believes this arrangement is in the best interest of the children. That means she wants both parents to share decision-making responsibilities, legal custody, and time with the children, physical custody. The divorce petition also references the couple's prenuptial arrangement, with Kandi asking the court to enforce its terms. Oh, there's more. The documents note that both parties have accumulated debts during the marriage, which would be addressed in line with the prenup. Regarding the child support, the filing specifies that obligations for the children will be determined by the court under Georgia's child support guidelines, leaving the financial arrangements to the legal process. The petition cites that the marriage is broken. Okay, so here's the thing. She said they both accumulate debts. Remember when I said that Todd had a chance of getting 50% of whatever was made in the marriage? But they're now trying to say they both have debts. So they're going to take all the debts that were accumulated during the marriage, sacrifice that, subtract that, and then split it in half. How much you want to bet Kandi is literally saying, no, we had debts. We had debts for wet ones, right? Again, she said it's been brewing for a while. And let's not forget, there's a bunch of clips online of Todd like trying to sneak diss Kandi. Again, I think Todd was jealous that he always was, I don't want to call him a bum, but he was always the queen's advisor, the queen's handmaiden, never the king. See, that's the thing, and it's a perfect analogy that a lot of men aren't ready for. Just like you cannot marry a queen and become the king. That's not how it works. Unless you are already a king in your own realm and you're combining it. When you marry the queen, you become the queen's trusted person. You become the queen's lover. You become the queen's advisor. You become the queen's assistant, handmaiden. That's fine. But you don't become king. The queen will always be queen. She will rule, and you will sit beside her. You see what I'm saying? I think Todd thought that he would become king as well, and they would rule together. That's not the way it works. That's not. But look at Queen Elizabeth and Philip, right? She was always queen. He was Philip, okay? Again, even just like when you marry a king, unless you come from your own kingdom and you have more, when you marry a king, you are, yes, the queen. You're his advisor, you're his lover, you're that, but you are never going to rule with him. The person born into it, the person of blood is the ruler. And Kandi was born, that's her wealth. It's flowing through her blood. Anyway, also they said that Kandi Burrs' restaurant faced legal issues right before the split. Yeah. They said that they're pleading for an emergency court hearing against the landlord of the restaurant Blaze Steak and Seafood. Why? They're accusing the company of owing. They sued Burrs Tucker Restaurant Group in July, accusing them of owing about $150,000 and another so $200,000 in back rent and repairs. Yeah, they alleged that while the lawsuit over alleged rent is pending, the landlord decided to take matters in their own hands. Listen, at the end of the day, Kandi don't like giving money to anyone, not stylist, not interior director. She does a good job, but she is known to keep a thing. Todd is going to have to pry every penny out of her hands, and it looks like she already got her hands clenched up in a fist. Let's see how long they keep things cute. I think they'll keep things cute if Todd decides to walk away with nothing, but something tells me Todd's not walking away. He's not going to want to walk away with anything. Anyway, you guys, listen, that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. You think I'm tripping? You think I got Todd all wrong? You think the situation's wrong? Time will tell, but let me know what you think. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.